right, Connor Rogers is here, NBC draft expert. He filmed a bunch of draft stuff yesterday, so he's got it all top of mind. He's one of my favorite people in the draft space, in the media space. What's going on, buddy?
I'm good, Kevin. It's that time of year, man. I'm in the world of watching 6th and 7th round guards and returners, and it's a real sicko world, but things are great.
Give me 15 seconds on the Mets. Are they going to be good this year?
Yeah, I mean, you have Juan Soto now. You have no excuse not to be. I know everybody's panicking about the pitching, but I'm a believer. The division's loaded, but they'll make the playoffs, and then as we saw like last year, anything can happen.
I just need to say this real quick. So we live on the train line to Yankee Stadium. Okay, so it's very easy to go to Yankee games, but they only play afternoon games during my toddler's nap, and the Mets play a bunch of 4 p.m. games, which is prime up from the nap. Time. And so he might end up being a Mets fan because the Yankees will not play any games amenable to Teddy's nap schedule.
But man, as someone on that same train line, and I'm a Mets fan for life, God, it would be so much easier. You're talking about a large commuting difference.
I completely agree with, and you have to pay for parking with the Mets. The whole thing. It's up in the air. All I can say is that once the Yankees, and it's already happening, once the Yankees lose their identity of being the Yankees, because Stephen Cohen is outspending them.
Yeah, we sure that hasn't happened yet?
No, I think I think it has happened functionally, but I think identity-wise, the Yankees fans still think of themselves as the Yankees. Fair. And once that slips, I think it's going to get to a very dark place. That's my prediction.
I think Soto was the floodgates opening of it all right now.
Because the fact is, the Dodgers are the new Yankees.
Yeah.
But then now the Mets are also the new Yankees. So
and
now
it's
who
the
are the
same
Yankees?
Town problem. Right.
Yes.
You can't do it in the same
It's so
town.
much easier when they were in LA.
Right.
Like the new Yankees were in LA and you have to worry about them. You don't even play them until the World Series.
The Mets just have to win once, because until they do that, they could always have it thrown back in their face. You got to win. But if you win once, it's over.
It is over. All right. So we're doing mid-round sleepers. You did top 10s for every position yesterday?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, we did 5s on a couple to save some time. You know, that peacock condensing into it. You know.
Wait, what were the positions where you're like, all right, we're only going to do 5?
We did 5 safeties, which broke my heart because I like the safety class, but you got to. We did 5 tackles and 5 interior offensive linemen because, you know, we weren't in the weeds going through the B-roll of the linemen as much as I like that class too. 5 tight ends. Everything else, though, had a top 10.
I'm going to tell you one of my tricks is if you want to find out how good a state or a college's recruiting ground is, go on 24/7 and see how many high school players 24/7 or Rivals even ranks in that state. So like in Florida, they do a Florida top 100. Okay. And then in like Vermont, it's like
what does
5
Maine
guys.
get?
Yeah. Maine. It's, I'm not even sure they do it. It might just like be like New England, right? Like, so that we're like some of these states where you're like, oh, this school is really good. Like Nebraska, right? Like, I don't think they do in Nebraska. I would be surprised if they do a Nebraska top 50. And then you realize how hard Matt Rule's job is. Or you look at it and you say, everybody in the top 100 in Florida is a 4-star at least. And then it's like, there are states without a 4-star who have like good programs. And you're like, oh, these guys, these are the good coaches.
Does California, Texas, and Florida outnumber the rest of the country?
Oh, without a doubt.
Would be how I would set the field.
Without a doubt.
I think so too.
Have you ever looked at the NFL every year does the high schools with the most guys, and it's always like the only school, I think Bishop Gorman in Vegas does punches above their weight, but everything else is Florida, Texas. I mean, St. Thomas Aquinas, American Heritage in South Florida, some of the Texas schools, the suburban Texas schools.
IMG Academy.
IMG Academy's fake.
Yeah,
it drives me
counts.
nuts. I'm gonna nobody cares about recruiting except for me. I'm just going to do this for a second, okay? The Florida State rankings used to mean something, okay? Because it used to be number 1 kids from Edgewater, number 2 kid is from St. Thomas Aquinas and Miami Northwestern. Now it's all these IMG kids who are from all over America, and they're in the top 100 in Florida, and they shouldn't be. They should be ranked in the state they're from. You're ruining the rankings.
They are. I'm a tri-state guy, so I want our New Jersey, New York, Connecticut football players to be listed at that. but they lose that when they go down to a place like IMG Academy.
They don't go to Don Bosco anymore.
Right,
they just don't do it.
Growing up, that's what it was.
That's what it was. And then you'd get you'd get this California team's won 90 straight games. They're going to play Don Bosco on a Friday night. Now they all go to IMG Academy.
Right. It's totally changed. At least it felt a little more natural when it was Don Bosco, even though there was kids probably from 3 hours away. But IMG Academy is basically a college.
I mean, look, yeah, but
impressive,
but all these guys transferred after their freshman year to these big schools. You think that they all were magically their parents when they were 10 years old were like, oh yeah, of course, we want you to take no. Like Michael Irvin transferred, whatever. It's a storied tradition of crazy high school stuff that we could do a whole episode on. All right, so we're gonna do your 5 best mid-round sleepers. I'm excited for this. Give me number 1.
Let's start with Jacob Parrish, Kansas State corner. He came in just a hair under 5'10" at the combine, which is big for him. I thought he was even shorter than that. He played on the outside at the college level, elite athleticism. I mean, you're talking about a track background. This is somebody that ran in the 4.3s at the combine. The speed is real, but it's the lateral agility. When you look at a guy that, is sub 6 feet tall and is probably going to have to kick into the slot at the next level, you got to have that lateral agility. You got to be able to flip your hips. And the good thing is, for a guy that played, I think, over 800 snaps in college on the outside, there are about 100 snaps where he did play in the slot. And you watch him and you go, oh, this transition is going to be really, really smooth for him. Ball skills. He's only going to be 21 on draft night. This is an old draft class. I mean, you're having rookies that'll be 25, a lot of 24-year-olds. So now when you see a player that is on a great trajectory that is only going to be 20 or 21 on draft night, that means a little more to me in this draft class. Parrish is a stud. I mean, this is somebody in high school that was basically a superstar offensive player, wide receiver, and running back. So the way the athleticism has translated to corner has just been phenomenal. Early declaration guy. You just can't teach the kind of movement skills he has. I don't like betting on outliers, size outliers. He's shorter for a corner. I will gladly bet on him because he's just a gnat around the football.
All right, 2 questions. Number 1, where we expect him to go round-wise?
I would say the 3rd round. This is a pretty tall corner class, and teams just are obsessed with that size and length, understandably. I mean, when you look at how the corner board will fall, you're obviously going to have Travis Hunter and Will Johnson, I think, go in the 1st round. Azareye'h Thomas could go in the 1st round from Florida State. Savone Ravel, who tore his ACL in September, he's going to be a top 50 pick in my eyes. And then you have Trey Amos and Darian Porter, 2 other tall corners. They're going to go early. So that kind of kicks Parrish probably the 3rd round because of his size. But if he ended up being a top 3 corner from this class, I just wouldn't be surprised at all.
That's interesting. The age thing, how are you grading this? Because we did this the other day when Derek Classman was on about Tyler Shuck, but there's so many guys, and there's just going to be a bunch of guys. I mean, for God's sakes, the Diego Pavia ruling is going to make it so there's a bunch of 25-year-olds playing with normal eligibility. How are you grading these guys when you say, okay, is this guy good or is he 23?
You got to really be careful of asking yourself, what is he now and what do I need him to be? Here's a good example on the positive side. Look at Demetrius Knight Jr. from South Carolina. He's a linebacker. Before I even, 6th-year senior, multiple stops. He played 4 years at Georgia Tech, special teamer, 1 year at Charlotte, and then 1 year at South Carolina, where he got to start at South Carolina. He's going to turn 25 years old before his first training camp. When I was doing all the background prep work, I'm like, man, your intuition is I don't want to like this guy because this is this could be a late breakout. The tape's great. He has really transformed himself into such a good player, instinctual player, good athlete, wrap-up tackler, reads his keys, and he's so responsible against the run. He's one of the best linebackers in this draft. I don't care that he's turning 25 around training camp. Am I going to use a first-round pick on that kind of profile of a player? No. But do I think he's one of the best linebackers in this draft? Absolutely, because I don't need him to grow into more. He's a good athlete, and he's smart, and he has great pre-snap awareness. If it was a guy where, hey, I love the athlete, but it hasn't translated into football IQ yet, oh, he's 24, 25, maybe it's just not going to happen for him. That's the kind of player that you get a little afraid of. Tyler Shuck's a good conversation because I like the floor as a backup quarterback.
Me too.
I don't. That's the difference where you're okay with him as an older college prospect. It's the guys that you need so much growth from where you go, man, at that point, if he didn't break out being an older guy in college, it's most likely not going to happen at the NFL level.
Yeah, and with Chuck, we do this in the quarterbacks episode, but like I think his process is a little bit slow, and like his operations a little bit slow. I think his ceiling is probably like Kenny Pickett, just like older,
Yeah,
whatever.
that's fair.
But like that's fine. But that's if it's great to take Kenny Pickett in the 5th round and not 20th.
Yeah, you see what backup quarterbacks are making right now? You'd love to find that in the 5th round.
Well, no, it was funny
cheap.
because Derek Klassen, who was on the show, was like comping some of the worst guys to Mitch Trubisky. And it's like, you know what? In the 6th round, Mitch Trubisky, pretty good. Guess what? You take him 2nd overall, might set your franchise back a decade. So that's an important distinction. It's like some of these guys, this is a big Nate Tice thing, like bring back realistic comps. We're like, now it's
Nate
like,
all the way.
Abdul Carter is Myles Garrett. No, he's not. Like, I don't know. I honestly don't know, but he's not. Like, he's not. Myles Garrett is one of the best athletes in the history of football who had unbelievable, like, he's not. So let's bring back realistic comps. That's
I punched a Tyquan Thornton comp into my doc this week, and it felt good. Like, it felt good to do that when it's like, man, he was taken in the 2nd round. He had a lot of late day 3 grades that year, and yeah, it paints a better picture for fans, I think, than just saying, hey, here's this highest ceiling of this guy, and then you think 500 players are going to reach that.
100%. It drives me nuts. I mean, for me, it's less about a comp and more like a role, right? Like this guy can develop into a core special teamer. This guy can develop into a blocking 3rd receiver who sticks in the league for 8 years if everything breaks right and gets a 2nd contract. Like, to me, there needs to be a more realistic conversation like that, because instead we go, oh, this guy can replace, some Steelers fan be like, this could be our George Pickens replacement. Probably not. Probably not. Like, like
history tells you probably not. It's really changed almost the process that Trevor Sikkema and I have started doing with NFL Stock Exchange, where we would love to just do our position rankings so particular. Like we want to rank just nickels. Yep. We want to rank, there's so many different kinds of players at every position. You have designated pass rushers. You have heavy-handed edge defenders that stop the run. That's where we are, but it's hard to do that in the world of media and have that wide reach of it. But it really does paint a much better picture.
I completely agree. We could do this all day. All right, number 2 sleeper.
R.J. Mickens, a Bloodlines guy. Yeah, dad played corner in the NFL for a long time. I think 8 years for the Jets, and he had a couple other stops. But Mickens, only the 10th player in Clemson history to play 60 games for the program. He's been there a while, and he's played a lot of football. It's not that he's this 6-year kind of guy. It's just that he was playing right away. Last 3 seasons, 600 snaps in the box, 300 in the slot, 850 at free safety. Like, you draft him and you just feel comfortable in any role you need in the secondary. I think he's best at free safety. He's got long arms. You love that the testing kind of confirmed what you saw on tape. The 32.25-inch arms, 41.5-inch vertical, sub 4.5 speed. That's a really impressive athlete at his size, 6 feet tall, 200 pounds. So he's pretty explosive. I think he just comes to balance as a wrap-up tackler. You need that last line of defense. So many of these guys lunge or they have short arms, and when they come to balance, they don't have the reach and grip. He's got the long arms and the balance, which makes him such a great tackler. It's just one of those guys. He's clearly the son of an NFL defensive back. Yeah. The eye discipline, great awareness in zone coverage. Once again, it just feels like he's got 360 vision, and you just love the athleticism. So R.J. Mickens, to me, he doesn't get talked about as a top 5 safety ever in this draft, and I understand that, but he'll probably go in the 4th round, and I think he'll be a starter for a pretty long time.
There's a whole discussion about Nepo babies in football that we could get into, especially in the GM world, the coaching world.
That's where it's
bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
With players, though, typically, if you're the son of an ex-NFL player, you're going to come in with a higher floor. Here's why. First of all, you probably know the work that is required to stick in the NFL, probably. Not everybody's up for that, but you know it. And then also, your dad has been putting you with the best coaches, or, I know so many guys who, they put their son is borderline college scholarship guy, but he sent him to the camp with, his old position coach who's now at this school. Like, there's a whole network there that a lot of these guys, and this is not about RJ Mickens, it's just broadly, like the floor is higher because dad knows how to get you ready. And maybe that's doesn't matter in year 7, but I think it matters in year 1 and 2, where your instincts are going to be better because you've seen a lot of football. Dad has put you in certain positions, and you know the work required. I mean, I think a lot of times the biggest adjustment is understanding how much harder guys work at the NFL level. Everybody is just so good, and it's funny because like, when you watch, I mean, maybe you're going through the same thing as me. I watch a lot of college football. But when I watch like 100 snaps in a row, you just see how sloppy the game is.
Oh, it's
you're just like, well, was watching Shedeur the other day, and like how many times Shedeur would hit a guy at the 10-yard line, and then just some guy would make the worst arm tackle attempt you've ever seen in your life, and then the guy would go in for a 10-yard score. And it's like, that guy would have been stopped in his tracks at the NFL level. And that's not a Shedeur thing. That's just a college thing. You see how sloppy it is. You get to the NFL and you go, oh, nobody makes mistakes here. Like, even the guys who were terrible, like we do this every August, but like the guys who get cut on August 10th without a second thought are the best guys in the history of their hometown. I say this all the time. I had to park at the Falcons facility. One day I had to park across the street because there was too many people, and there was a high school there, and the high school had a shrine to Connor Shaw. We're in suburban Atlanta.
Right.
This isn't Podunk. We're in suburban Atlanta, and Connor Shaw deserves it's like a statue guy there, right? So anyway, long story short, it's a big gap between college and pro. I like the R.J. Mickens thing. All right, who's next for you?
The next one for me is, I think, a name people know, but he's gotten a little forgotten about. Tate Ratledge, the guard from Georgia.
He was one of my guys a couple weeks ago. People see the mullet, and then they don't ask any more questions. He can play, and he's an athlete.
Yeah, he doesn't really get mentioned as being, a top guard in this draft, because I think largely because he had tightrope surgery in the middle of this year on a high ankle sprain. Yes. And I didn't think he was the same guy. And I want to be careful by saying, he set a really high bar the previous 2 years. I thought the previous 2 years at right guard was almost an A+. And this year it felt more like a B+ because of that ankle. Mm-hmm. And you hear in this class, Gray Zabel from North Dakota State, who has had an amazing process and deserves to go in the first round. Tyler Booker from Alabama, Donovan Jackson, all these names from the interior of the offensive line, tackles that are going to kick inside. Ratledge has been playing right guard at Georgia for 3 years, and he's been doing it at a really, really high level. He's someone, to me, that he's a little unconventional because you don't see a lot of guards that are almost 6 feet, 7 inches tall. He's 6'6.5", 308, another good athlete that's sub 540, 32-inch vertical. To me, it's just the spatial awareness. He has really good awareness. He catches power rushers, and he understands, for a guy that's really tall, usually those guys are out leveraged. He drops his hips and generates all this lower body power in pass protection. And then you watch him in the run game. He moves. It's very graceful how he moves and lands on targets. Those tall guys in the zone scheme, and Georgia runs a ton of zone, they kind of, they can get fired up and try to kind of knock your head off. Kelvin Banks, who's a great player in this draft, I said it to him, and he basically agreed. He would try to just be a kill shot blocker in zone, and he's gotten a lot better at that. Ratledge is so in control, landing on his targets, that it's phenomenal to watch in the zone game. So I think he's plug and play starter at right guard at the NFL. And if you got him, he shouldn't fall to the third round. If he did, that's a steal. I think in the second round, he's still a value. He's that kind of player. Yeah,
the interior Georgia offensive line graded out really well at the combine, and it's a lot of athletes. And I'm always going to bet on athleticism. We're also going to bet on coaching. Like these guys, there's going to be a floor. Kirby doesn't make exceptions with athletes and size and their ability to move. I know, it's funny because Champ Bailey was on this show a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about, well, why don't the Falcons draft Georgia guys? Just draft the best Georgia guy available. Because there was always a thing about Miami, the Dolphins, where if they just taken the best Miami player available for 20 years, they would have, won a couple of Super Bowls. And I feel like there's a similar thing happened with the Falcons in Georgia. And then people were like, well, the Packers tried that and it hasn't worked out, especially on defense yet. But I'm still going to bet on the Georgia guys more than I'm not. I really do think, and I'm trying to think of somebody else. Now that Saban's gone, there's no other program where you're going to get reliable guys like that. You know exactly what Kirby's standards are. I think everybody else in the portal era, they're just taking too many portal guys, and it's been completely different. And we could do 10 minutes on this, but I'm still going to bet on Georgia, and frankly, I'm still going to bet on Tate Ratledge.
Yeah, what they're asked to do is the closest thing, I guess, resembling a pro program in their preparation, their practices. I've asked a lot of guys at the combine this over the years, and you basically get a similar answer almost 8 out of 10 times. Our practices are harder than our games, is what they tell you. They feel like when they get to Saturday, it's like, okay, like this is different than the guy I've been practicing against 120 miles an hour for months. So that, that helps specifically the trenches the most.
Yeah, without a doubt. Kirby's trenches are always going to be good, and then Howie Roseman will take them and win a Super Bowl with them. All right, who's your next guy?
Bhayshul Tuten, running back from Virginia Tech. Yeah, there's a good reaction right there. I mean, everybody now is pretty aware of the kind of athlete he is with the kind of combine that he had. But when you just look at the tape, he's somebody where everything checks out. The combine numbers, of course, for him were really, really good. And it wasn't just one aspect of it. It was the fact that, he's somebody with that 1.49 10-yard split. The acceleration is an A+, 4.32 speed. He goes 4.41 in the shuttle, 40.5-inch vertical. But tape matches, analytics match. I mean, when you just go through some of the numbers, the road they lead you down, missed tackles forced per attempt, basically how much are you creating on your own? This is somebody last year that was 95th percentile in the country at running back doing that. He's one of the best creators at the running back position in the entire country where, hey, man, you got to make something happen. Like, we can't block all the guys on the field. You got to make somebody miss. I think the wiggle that he has, that short area change of direction, the yards he then, it's one thing to make, to force a missed tackle. It's then how can you reaccelerate and recalibrate your vision to create yards after contact? He was 94th percentile in yards after contact per attempt. So he's making people miss, and then he's generating the most yards possible after contact. I think that he has more in the tank as a pass catcher. They should have thrown him the ball more. At the Senior Bowl, I got to see him up close. The route tree looked really good. Very smooth transitions. When you're a running back, what matters really one of the most to me is how you transition from catching the ball into runner. Because if that transition is very fast, it means that when you're in space, you're always going to make the first guy miss and pick up more yards. If it's clunky, they're going to be able to come to balance and tackle you. I think Tuten is a phenomenal player. And if you run a heavy outside zone scheme, you're going to be obsessed with him. Like, if you put this guy in the Miami run game, it would be absolutely silly. He's a damn good football player.
Virginia Tech has some dudes who are going to be better as pros than they were in college. I don't think Virginia Tech was very well coached last year.
Jalen Lane, their wide receiver, they had speed in this offense.
And their D-line has some guys. Tuten's really good. And let's do just quickly. I know you did the list last week. So yesterday, Genty number 1, Hampton number 2.
Yep.
And then Tuten for
Judkins and Travion Henderson back to back, 3 and 4. Caleb Johnson 5th. Scattaboo, who I like a lot, 6. Dylan Sampson, and then Tuten at 8.
That tracks. That seems to track. Yeah. I like Caleb Johnson a lot, and I also think
do too. And I don't know why no one else does. All of a sudden, it's very odd to me. I see him just completely forgotten about. Maybe it's that 4.6 40, and people just write him off, which is not a good idea if you're tracking running backs, throughout the combine over the years. And a 4.6 40 looks a little different when you play at 225. I'll say that. Like, your speed to weight needs to be quantified very, very importantly when tracking these guys.
The one thing that I have in my old age come to realize is guys who run hard are undervalued in this league, like running backs. Like,
every time.
You should have at least a running back. This is like the one thing. There's a million things like this guys from the 70s and 80s were right about. One of them is running backs should hurt people. Like, it sucks to tackle you. I want you on my team. That's my thought.
Kyle Monungai from Rutgers. Yes. Great example. I hope he goes higher than this because I love the player and also a great person. But he'll probably go in the 5th round.
Yeah.
And then when he's starting for a team in the second half of the season, running through everyone's face, everyone's like, why did no one care about this guy? Yep. Well, because he wasn't a combine star.
Damian Martinez from Miami.
Damian Martinez, man. I have him right behind Tuten. This is a great running back class. It's the top. I love the top 10 so much.
The thing with Martinez is he was not a scheme fit at all for for what Miami did versus what he did at Oregon State, and he figured it out over the course of the year, which I think is really special. So he was more of a outside runner, and then Miami runs between the tackles, lots of very tight splits, and he figured it out by the end of the year. He was breaking out these huge runs, these huge 15-yard runs. And you can watch it, especially in October, November. He has the Louisville play where he kind of Marshawn Lynched a guy. That was in October. Like he figured out over the course of the season, which is again, like this is, I go back to the conversation I had with Jaden Daniels, quarterback coach last year, where he's like, the portal is great because you get to see if the guy is growing, you get to see it. Okay, this guy went from one offense to the next. He has new teammates. I'm going to clock. Did he get better from September to October? Did he get better from October to November? Jaden Daniels, it was incredibly linear. Like you got to see it. You could clock it and you go, oh, this guy is now can do whatever he wants to SEC defenses by the end of his senior year. Like that to me is what the portal is good for from an evaluation standpoint. So
yeah, Martinez has really good feet for a big guy, and that's when a running back has that, you got to value it in a different sphere, I think, compared to everything else.
He also had a game-winning run against Syracuse that got called back for a bad hold that has put me into a 5 month depression. Changed me as a person, I would say. All right, your last guy,
Jamaree Caldwell, nose tackle from Oregon. You watch the Oregon team, and obviously there's a lot of guys that get attention on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. Derek Harmon, their other D tackle, is probably going to be a first-round pick. You know, you look at some of the guys that played in this defense, Jeffrey Bassa at linebacker, Jordan Birch on the same defensive line. And then there's Caldwell, 332 pounds, asked a two-gap, hold blocks, clear out space for everyone else. I mean, really, what a build. 6'2", 342 was his playing weight. And
yes.
It's just a phenomenal human in a football jersey. I love the guy. I think that, you look at the way he gets off the ball at that size. It's a really challenging matchup for offensive linemen because you're not used to that kind of body weight dictating the rep so often. He can legitimately kind of swivel his hips and angle into the pocket, which 330 plus pounds is not supposed to do that. And then you watch the Houston tape before he transferred. They would kick him to end. He tried a spin move. Like it's defying gravity what Caldwell could do. But the most important thing for him is he's got the body and the strength to two gap and kind of make life better for everybody around him. And you don't get in the box score for doing that. You only get noticed by the tape. And he did that at Oregon, and it was really impressive and a key cog of their defense. And he goes in the fourth round, a perfect rotational early down guy.
I'm never going to fight taking flyers on size and movement. Like if you can do that, I can.
Milton Williams.
Just if you can move at 342 pounds, my guess is you can do a lot of things on an NFL field. I love the Oregon defense. Again, you talk about the portal. So many of those guys top of the portal. It's expensive to do what Oregon does, but they were able to bring a lot of those guys in. And if the guy from Michigan State he mentioned earlier, like there's a lot there, Harmon. But yeah, I again, Oregon's one of these programs where they know how to evaluate talent. They get these guys in, they coach them well. So I'm betting on anybody who's 342 pounds who can move.
It's a good investment at this point. And what's always interesting to me is that you ask some of these guys at the combine who their toughest matchup was, whether it was at the Senior Bowl or in college football. I had some top offensive linemen mention Caldwell, and I was like, these guys have gone up against like Shamar Stewart and all these top, and they give them a lot of praise. But the fact Caldwell got some love, I thought was notable to me compared to where you kind of see him stack up in draft rankings across the board.
Hey, what's going on with Stewart right now? Is he still is he going to be like a top 10 pick because of his timing and his workout?
I'll say top 20.
Yeah.
I think you have teams that are just going to bet on that freakish size and athleticism. And he's a weird one because he wrecks plays, but he doesn't finish plays.
Yes.
So like when you Google him, it's like 1.5 sacks every year. And then you watch him and you go, man, he destroys plays. But I think there is an art. I say this about running backs and scoring touchdowns. Finishing plays is a skill. There's little luck at times. If one guy, half tackles a guy and he starts to stumble and you finish the play, okay, that's a little luck. But finishing plays to me and scoring touchdowns, that's a skill. And I think Stewart lacks the skill of finishing plays. Can he find it or learn it? Maybe. He hasn't found it at Texas A&M, but that doesn't mean he doesn't disrupt plays. There's a very, very large difference.
Yeah, and listening to people who are a lot smarter than me, the obvious comp college-wise is Trayvon Walker. Trayvon Walker was a better run defender, and he played more violently. And so the floor was a little higher there. That's why he went first overall and was in the mix. He would have gone second overall if he hadn't gone first overall. Stewart, I think it's a little bit more of a projection, hoping. And listen, Walker's getting sacks at the NFL level.
I know, it's crazy.
Something happened there. He popped. But it's a different eval, and you kind of got to hope that he learns that whatever the skill is, whatever the move is, whatever I don't know. I mean, and also, by the way, pressures are valuable. They're just not first overall valuable.
No, they're not. And I think teams are going to dive into that scheme with A&M because you look at it, it's not just him.
No.
You had Shamar Turner, who's a really, really good player. The numbers were low this year. He had
2 years ago, you had Walter Nolan.
And then you had Walter Nolan. Yeah. And then honestly, the most notable is Nick Scorton transferring there from Purdue. Yeah, I mean, Scorton goes from a double-digit sack guy on Purdue's defense to A&M. Okay, I have some more rules. I have some more responsibilities. For us to play as a unit, I can't be chasing sacks. So I think it matters what kind of defense you run if you care about the numbers and kind of how to project them going forward.
What do you got cooking on NBC this week?
We are dropping both our full defensive preview and offensive preview, positional ranks for every single group.
Who's the crew for this?
So I did every group with Nicole Auerbach.
Yeah,
but Sims jumped in on quarterbacks,
now we're talking.
Which is Electric Factory.
My guy.
Joshua Perry jumped in, of course, for front seven players, which was awesome just to hear his thoughts on. I mean, you're talking about a guy that had so much success at Ohio State and then played in the NFL. So to hear him talk about the pass rushers and off-ball guys, we have a really good rotation, and you can watch them on YouTube or Peacock. They're each about an hour, and basically you invest 2 hours, you'll know the top 10 guys across the entire draft.
I saw Sims' quarterback ranking. It didn't seem crazy to me.
No.
Normally he's got some takes.
Low event. I said to him when he walked in the studio, I'm like, man, this is the most boring quarterback rankings you've ever had. Because it's just a boring class.
He normally cooks with it.
Yeah,
and this time it was kind of chalk.
It was chalky because like, what do you want him to do?
Yeah.
Like, what do you want him to sit there and go like, you know what? Kyle McCord is actually QB1. I guess people were hoping for that.
Kyle McCord is good.
He'll be a good backup. He'll be a good backup.
No, yeah. When I say good, I mean he's better than...
I know what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, especially think of the PR campaign, like the reputation change he had to have.
Yeah.
Coming out of Ohio State, everybody was like, this guy's the worst quarterback in the country. And now after a great year at Syracuse, everyone's like, actually, Kyle McCord is not a bad football player at all. He's a draftable quarterback prospect.
Last time we did this was in October, and we just talked about how Cam Ward and Ashton Jeanty
was it really that long?
To the two best players in the draft. Or I said the two best players in the draft. We talked about Ashton Jeanty being a first-round pick, and I think that's now a consensus take.
We were Cam Ward truthers from the beginning.
Very early.
Not to like give us a pat on the back, but
very early.
It's nice to see that it's not even a debate anymore. No. It's just Cam is the number one quarterback, NFL consensus, media consensus, most fans consensus, and
it's so obvious. It was so obvious watching him.
The physical ability is just very different than everyone else, and then you put it into a productive season, and all the numbers that you want to see, like the turnover worthy plays cutting down.
Yeah, only a couple fumbles when he had 44.
Yeah, the fumble rate went down, which was the glaring issue, and everybody loves the demeanor of Cam Ward.
Yeah,
I've said this before.
I've never seen anybody more comfortable on a football field. Like I'm serious.
No,
I've never seen anybody just being up there, just being like, I can do whatever I want. And I feel like you see that more. I don't really want to say this, but I'm gonna say it. I'm not comparing these two people. Okay, if you go see Leo Messi play, there's a comfort. Like high level, I don't know about MLS Messi. I haven't gone to see MLS Messi, but I've seen Messi play for Argentina a couple times. And he's just, first of all, the gravity, he's like he understands like the gravity of the field all the time, but he's also just so comfortable and he knows when to turn it on. He knows when to turn it off. He knows I'm going to be right here. Like the speed of the game, it's almost like Gretzky-ish, right? Like he knows skating where the puck will be. Like there's a little bit of that with Cam Ward where the anticipation is such that he's never too fast. He's never too slow. He's exactly right all the time. He is so comfortable on a field. And I'm not sure I've seen a college player like that in a long time.
No, I'm with you. I think dialing in emotion is really hard to do. And especially when you get the ball every play You have to find a way to do that. And he's phenomenal at it. It's not like a closer in baseball where they can come out of the bullpen with the music and they rear back and throw 100 miles an hour for 12 to 15 pitches. Like the longevity and sustainability of playing quarterback and dialing in that emotion, he's phenomenal at doing that. And it's such a hard, you're born with it or you're not, I think. And Cam Ward has that.
Thank you, buddy. We got to my natural point, which was comparing Cam Ward to Messi.
I like that we did all of this and landed right back on the number one pick in the draft.
And Cam Ward has Messi and Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah. Phenomenal. Only you could pull that off. I respect it.
Oh no, trust me. But by the time the draft comes around, Lord knows who my comps are going to be. It's just going to get more and more and more. All right, NBC Sports. He's with Nicole Auerbach, Josh Perry, Chris Sims this week. See you, buddy.
Thanks, Kevin.